The invitation to my cousin Amelia's engagement party felt heavier than it should have, though I already knew what it would say. Same as always. Please use the side entrance. Staff and support family enter through the garden gate. Because to them, that's all I ever was. The black sheep of the Langford family. The one who chose nightlife instead of medicine, politics, or a tidy MBA. According to Aunt Margaret, I was the disappointment they all politely ignored at galas and holidays. "Are you actually going?" my best friend Jordan asked, glancing at the creamy envelope in my hands. "After what went down last Thanksgiving?" Ah, Thanksgiving. When Uncle George announced, within earshot of 50 guests, that some relatives should remember they're not exactly our pride and joy. And Amelia, she'd handed me a tray of champagne flutes with a smirk. "You're used to this kind of thing, right, Lila?" "I have to go," I said, smoothing the navy wrap dress I'd chosen on purpose. Clean, elegant, quiet. They're still family. What they didn't know was that while they mocked me for running bars, I'd quietly built one of the most elite private nightlife brands in North America. The Velvet Chain wasn't just a lounge. It was the flagship of a growing empire of members-only clubs, where celebrities, diplomats, and tech billionaires waited months for access. But to them, I was still just Lila Montgomery, the dropout who mixed drinks. I arrived at the Hamptons estate right on time, following the gravel path to the garden gate as directed. The event security guard gave a short laugh when he saw me. "Deliveries are around the back fence," he said without looking up. "I'm family." He eyed my dress. "Sure you are." "Amelia uses the front entrance," Amelia chimed in sweetly as she stepped out from behind a column. "Not the hired help." She wore something extravagant, ivory lace, vintage diamonds. That smug smile. "Congratulations on the engagement, Amelia," I said evenly. "Yes, well, Martin comes from a proper family. His uncle's a federal judge," she boasted. "Not that you'd know anything about that world." If she only knew that Martin's uncle had been trying for months to get off the Velvet Chain's waiting list. And his firm, quietly retained as our legal counsel, never knowing the CO they answered to, was me. What about the expansion plans into London, Dubai, and Tokyo? The press now called us America's most exclusive club, but I kept it simple. "It pays the bills," I said with a small shrug. Speaking of paying, Aunt Margaret appeared at my side, her smile as polished as the diamonds on her collar. "We're short-staffed tonight. Our usual servers canceled last minute. Since you're here." "Of course. Why bother hiring professionals when they could disguise cruelty as convenience?" "No worries," I said coolly. "I already handled it. Amelia texted me earlier, so I called in a favor." They both blinked. "You what?" Amelia sputtered, the gleam in her eyes fading fast. "I own an entertainment group, remember? I have contacts," I said. "Laurel and Ash, the city's top catering firm, will be here in 20 minutes. Consider it my engagement gift." Before either could stammer a reply, I turned and stepped through the side entrance. Let them stew on that. Inside, the usual suspects clustered together. Uncle George dominating the fireplace circle, boasting about his firm's latest acquisition. My cousins Olivia and Preston debating whether Lake Como or St. Bart's was better in June. And my parents? They hadn't spoken to me since I walked away from Yale Law 3 years ago. "Lila," my grandmother's voice sliced through the noise like a warm knife. "Come sit with me, darling." Grandmother Eleanor had never cared for society's approval. She built her real estate empire at a time when women couldn't even apply for business loans without a man's signature. And she was the only one who never scoffed when I said I wanted to create the Velvet Chain. "Hello, Gran," I said, kissing her cheek as I sat beside her on the antique velvet settee. "You look radiant," she whispered. "And I read the piece in Forbes." I blinked. "You saw that?" She smiled slyly. "Of course I did. They called it America's most elusive empire. No one knows who owns it, just that she's brilliant and very discreet." "No one knows," I nodded. "It's safer that way." "Smarter," she agreed. "Let them misjudge you. The reveal's always the best part." Across the room, Amelia flaunted her oversized ring. Martin's family belongs to all the right clubs, she purred. Except one, Eleanor murmured, making me grin just as Laurel and Ash's staff filed in. Flawless and right on time. Amelia looked vaguely disappointed she couldn't make me serve drinks. Aunt Margaret passed our settee with a sniff. Well, at least you did something useful, she muttered. Though hiring staff isn't exactly a traditional engagement gift, a sterling tea service would have been more appropriate. Leave her alone, Margaret. Grandmother Eleanor's tone could have chilled champagne. Some of us still appreciate useful gifts over outdated status symbols. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. Marcus. Tokyo deal is finalized. We own the Ginza property. I smiled, tapping back a quick reply. Perfect. Begin renovations next week. Rooftop level gets priority. Business? Gran asked, with that sly glint in her eyes. Just a little expansion, I said, slipping the phone back into my clutch. Amelia's voice cut across the room like a champagne cork. Since you're here, Lila, why don't you make yourself useful? We're out of ice. I rose slowly, every head turned, waiting, expecting the same old compliance. Actually, I said evenly, I have a business call in 10 minutes, but the catering staff I hired will handle it. The room stilled. No one said no to Amelia. Not until now. Uncle George let out a scoff. A business call for your little bar? That can wait. I glanced at my watch. A discreet Cartier tank, elegant and understated. Unfortunately, it can't. When you're negotiating global real estate, timing is everything. Silence. Then, Demeter. My mother, her first words to me in 3 years. What are you talking about? Oh, didn't you hear? Eleanor's voice was practically purring now. Lila's club is doing quite well. Exceptionally exclusive, I hear. Don't be absurd, Amelia snapped. Martin belongs to every elite club. Except the Velvet Chain, I said quietly. Your fiancé's been on our waiting list for 6 months. His uncle, 8. We don't offer fast tracks. You're lying, she said, voice rising. That place, that's the most exclusive venue in Manhattan. I know. I smoothed the fabric of my dress. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have Tokyo on the line. Gran, dinner after? Absolutely, darling. We'll toast your expansion properly. As I headed to the front door, I heard Uncle George's strangled whisper behind me. She owns the Velvet Chain? If you've ever been underestimated, you know the power of a quiet comeback. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next, because Lila's story isn't over yet, and trust me, the best part is still to come. Tokyo partners! I paused at the doorway, turning back to face my stunned family. Oh, and Amelia, do let Martin know his membership application was declined. I offered a small smile. We have standards to maintain. The look on their faces was worth more than any silver platter or crystal stemware. The aftermath unfolded exactly as I predicted. First came the digital breadcrumbs. I watched the analytics spike on the Velvet Chain's private members site. Searches from Long Island IP addresses desperately trying to confirm what they just witnessed. Then came the calls. Lila, darling, Aunt Margaret cooed in a voicemail, her tone soaked in syrup. We really must catch up, perhaps over drinks, at your venue? Baby girl, came my father's voice next. Your mother and I, well, 3 years is too long. Maybe we swing by your little spot this weekend? But it was Amelia's message that sealed it. This is absurd, Lila. Martin's uncle is a federal judge. He doesn't wait for anything. Call me immediately. I forwarded that one to Marcus, who headed our membership committee. Add 6 more months to their wait list, I said with a grin. The Velvet Chain hadn't become America's most coveted club by catering to wealth or pedigree. We thrived on exclusivity earned, not inherited. Our members weren't fame chasers or legacy rich. They were innovators, creators, leaders, who moved the world forward. Everything my family pretended to be, but wasn't. A week later, I sat in my glass-walled office above the Manhattan flagship, reviewing membership reports with Marcus. Martin tried to bribe the doorman, he said, sliding over the file. Offered 10 grand for one night. I raised an eyebrow. His father's firm reps half the A-list. But even they are panicking because their clients can't get in. How'd James handle it? I asked, nodding toward the report. Took their photo. Banned them for life. Excellent. Just then, my phone buzzed. Gran Eleanor? Channel 6, darling. Your Anne is about to humiliate herself. I clicked on the flat screen. Aunt Margaret, glowing with overconfidence, smiled at a reporter at a gala. Of course our family belongs to the Velvet Chain. We're quite connected. I smirked. She's my niece, actually, Aunt Margaret said with a smug little laugh to the reporter's mic. The interviewer raised an eyebrow. That's interesting, Mrs. Langford, because the Velvet Chain's executive team just texted us to confirm that no member of the Langford family has ever been granted access to the club. The camera caught Margaret's face falling before she could recover. Well, what I meant was, we're in the process of... They also stated, the reporter continued smoothly, that the Langford family has been permanently banned from applying for membership due to multiple attempts to circumvent the application process. I took a slow sip of champagne from my office couch, watching the live broadcast with a quiet smile. There's something deeply satisfying about public arrogance being met with irrefutable truth. Our PR team is worth every penny, Marcus muttered, scrolling on his phone beside me. Your family's having a rough week. Uncle George tried to sue us for discrimination. I laughed. How'd that go? Our legal team, his own firm by the way, explained that entitlement isn't a protected class under federal law. My phone buzzed again. This time Amelia. You're ruining my engagement. Martin's clients are mocking him because he can't get into your ridiculous club. His uncle is livid. Fix this. I typed back one sentence. The back entrance is still open for staff positions. She didn't reply. The next evening, my parents showed up at the front door of the Velvet Chain during peak hours. Bold, considering they hadn't spoken to me since I left Yale Law. I'm sorry, James said calmly through the intercom. The club is members only. We're the owner's parents, my mother insisted. The owner left specific instructions regarding family, he replied. You're welcome to submit an application through the service entrance. My father turned red. This is absurd. The service entrance is to your left, James continued smoothly. Though I should mention, there's currently a 10-year waiting list, longer for those previously banned. I watched them through the security feed as the realization sank in, what it felt like to be excluded. To be told you're not welcome, to be shown the back door. Karma always knew how to write a full circle moment. A week later, an envelope landed on my desk, an invitation to Amelia's wedding. They changed the venue to the Velvet Chain, Marcus said, showing me her social post. Didn't even ask, just assumed. I picked up my phone and dialed. She answered immediately. Finally, we need to discuss the wedding arrangements. Dad insists, Amelia said, her voice shrill in my ear. You can't just say no. The Velvet Chain has to host the wedding. I'm afraid it won't, I cut in. What? But we already announced it. Martin's clients are finally impressed again. This will humiliate him. You should have confirmed the venue before posting it online, I replied coolly. Maybe try the country club. I hear they're less selective about who walks through the door. This is about the back entrance thing, isn't it? She snapped. You're still bitter. No, Amelia, this is about consequences. For years you treated me like staff. Now you're just getting a taste of how it feels to be shut out. We're family. Exactly, I said, and family doesn't shove each other through service entrances. Family doesn't act like success is a zero-sum game. She went silent, then hissed, Fine. I'll tell everyone you're the owner. I'll ruin your precious anonymity. I smiled. Go ahead. We're announcing it next week anyway. Local woman quietly builds billion-dollar empire after being dismissed by her own family. The press ran wild with it. From backdoor to boardroom, the woman behind America's most exclusive club. Langford, heiress, shut out. Now can't even enter cousin's club. Backdoor justice. The narrative practically wrote itself. I didn't need revenge, I had reality. Grandmother Eleanor threw a champagne dinner at her Southampton estate. To success and karma, she toasted, eyes twinkling. Charlotte resigned from 3 charity boards. The optics were too much. And Martin's father? I asked, sipping vintage rosé. Grambling, she said with delight, explaining to clients why you banned them from the very club they bragged about attending. Amelia, predictably, shifted the wedding to the country club, where, frankly, she belonged. 1 month later, I stood at the entrance of the Velvet Chain Manhattan. Leonardo DiCaprio chatted with Elon Musk. Jeff Bezos waited patiently for a corner table. Tokyo was opening next week. London after that. My phone buzzed. Amelia. People keep asking me about you at every event. I stared at the message, then typed. You had your chance, through the front door, but you chose the back. This is humiliating. Amelia's text came through at 10:03 p.m. I typed back. There's always the service entrance. She didn't respond. The Velvet Chain kept expanding. We opened in Dubai, then Paris, then Singapore. Each club more coveted, more exclusive than the last. And each with one unwavering rule in the member charter. No Langfords allowed. Last month, my parents made one final attempt at reconciliation. They sent a formal letter through their estate attorney. Dear Lila, we realize now that we were mistaken. Your success has opened our eyes. Perhaps we can meet and discuss rebuilding our relationship. We are willing to enter through any door you see fit. I scanned the letter once, then opened a locked drawer in my office. Inside was the note they'd left me when I walked away from law school. You're no longer welcome in this family. Please use the back door on your way out. I sent it back to their attorney. No additional comment. Message received. Last week, Amelia's wedding photos surfaced in the society pages. The country club looked nice enough. Chandeliers, overpriced florals, rented elegance. But everyone in the know understood it was her second choice. The article confirmed what insiders had whispered for months. The Velvet Chain declined to host the wedding. The club's owner, who happens to be the bride's cousin, refused to comment. But the closing line said it all. Sources suggest the rejection may be tied to a long-standing family habit, making certain relatives enter through the service door. Yesterday, I approved plans for our newest location, a sleek, modern flagship being constructed directly next to Amelia's beloved country club. Private entrance, no partnerships, no exceptions. Members only, front door only, no Langfords permitted. Because sometimes, the most satisfying revenge isn't served cold. It isn't served at all. Not to the people who once decided you weren't worthy of being seated at the table. And if they ever get desperate, well, the back door's still open. For staff positions only, of course. I built my empire brick by brick while they laughed behind champagne glasses. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or made to feel small, then you already understand my journey. Drop a comment below. Tell me your story, your comeback, your silent victory. I read every word. And if you're still on your climb, here's my advice. Let their doubt be your fuel. You don't need to shout to be powerful. Just build. Quietly, consistently, unapologetically. Subscribe to follow the rest of my journey. Because I promise, the woman they sent to the back door is just getting started.